I got involved very early on in this project. E1 brought me a few ideas of shows, pitches that they had, and this one really stood out for me. So I came on board, we went out, we pitched the show, and CBC showed some interest in it. So, you know, being both an EP and an actor, like I got to really help create the show that I wanted to be a part of. And that was incredibly valuable for me. Early on, it was, you know, I'd go into the development room with them and, you know, pipe in as much as was okay. But also like looking at pitches as they came in for episodes and giving notes on those things. And that was the work that mostly on the creative side. We've got some really strong producers on this show that handle all of that stuff. It's not my expertise, obviously. And yeah, it was a lot of work. But as we got into production and as I was on set all the time and prepping material and working on the acting side of things, it got a little more difficult for me to be as heavily involved in the creative. And my brain, I realized that when I'm acting, my brain kind of fills with the character, so it's hard for me to, you know, to kind of step away from that. Joanna is a really amazing lawyer, and that's probably her best trait. She's passionate and capable. She's not great with people, and she hasn't really invested much of her time in relationships. It's not something she's great at. She went from high school to university and law school and then into an office. Her main aspiration is to really have her father's approval, and he's a great lawyer and she works for him and she has always wanted to be like him. And they have a very interesting dynamic between the two of them where, you know, he has very high expectations and she tries to meet those expectations. So she's kind of that kind of a person. And through the process of this series, all of her ideas about life and living are challenged. Her ideas about her father are challenged. And she must basically feel what it means to be a human being, which is something she's avoided for her entire life. Well, what happens with the character in the show is that Joanna goes back to Millwood, her hometown that she left mysteriously when she was 14. She doesn't know why she left, but she has to go back to kind of just tidy up this thing. She thinks it's going to take her 2 seconds, and it really, to be fair, does. So she goes home, she does this thing, but she kind of gets sucked in. There are these girls and they're all sick and nobody knows why. And for a few reasons that I won't reveal, she ends up staying. And so the course of the show is really working on the mystery of what happened to these girls and solving that and, you know, trying to get them money. And parallel to that is Joanna learning about the history of her family and what happened. And those two things inform each other. I always build a pretty detailed and complete character backstory, which is really fun for me. It's one of my favorite parts of the whole job. So that takes time. I didn't do a ton of research into like the chemicals or any of that kind of stuff. Our creator he's a lawyer, or was a lawyer, so he has a lot of insight into the legal side of things. But more, I really looked at family dynamics and psychological ramifications of certain family dynamics and built that into the character. It's interesting. In TV, I've done essentially almost all supernatural or genre shows. Like all the little films I've done haven't all been that way. My interest lies much more in this subject matter than in the other. I'm not a consumer of superhero fare. I think it's lovely. I mean, I loved Wonder Woman. That was really great. And I liked Logan. Like, there are very specific things that I enjoy in that realm, but it's not my taste. So this is much more my taste, and that's really exciting for me to be able to be a part of something that reflects something I want to watch.